back here on Weather Nation. Now for your upper Midwest regional forecast. We want to dive right in and talk about what's been going on. Madison, Wisconsin, hard hit by flash flooding. Our affiliate WMTV in Madison sharing this video showing what people shouldn't do. A lot of people were driving through those flooded roadways. The water coming up to the grills of the cars, over the tires in some cases. You definitely do not want to be caught in that. And in some cases, we had a lot of swift moving water. Sadly, there was a fatality reported by a car being swept away in Madison, Wisconsin. Again, another view showing what you should not do. Your car can stall out, and then you're endangering the lives of the emergency responders that are called out to rescue you. So as we always say, turn around, don't drown. That is the best alternative to driving into the flooded roadways. And again, areas of Madison and particularly the western part of Dane County, that's where Madison is in south central Wisconsin, had some incredible amounts of rain. The good news is we are going to be drying out Wednesday and Thursday. A lot of sunshine, highs will be in the mid to upper 70s. Got to keep an eye though on that Friday forecast. The ground is saturated, so any more thunderstorms like we see here in the forecast for Friday could lead to some more localized flooding. And then we're going to crank up the heat again. Temperatures back into the middle 80s by the time we get into the weekend and early next week. So Wednesday, all in all, looking pretty quiet here in the upper Midwest. By late Thursday and especially into Friday, we're going to introduce a chance for some more scattered showers and thunderstorms, some of which could be severe. In the meantime, enjoy the comfortable temperatures out there. Look at these numbers. 60s for highs today in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, low 70s in Milwaukee, a pleasant 75 in Minneapolis and Des Moines, and Detroit, the hot spot there, up to 85 earlier today. Those temperatures have dropped off behind the front, especially into Wisconsin and Michigan, that's for sure. Almost 10 degrees cooler in Alpena, and we've been seeing the gusty winds coming out of the northwest behind the front. That, of course, is going to kick up some of those waves on the Great Lakes and give us the risk of rip currents for some of the beaches as well. You'll notice, again, rain has been very heavy. Parts of central Michigan back into parts of southern Wisconsin, seeing the heaviest rain in the last 24 hours. And you'll notice right there that bullseye that is right around the Madison, Wisconsin area. Take a look at these totals from Monday. Cross Plains, Wisconsin, over 15 inches of rain. That's incredibly heavy for Wisconsin standards. Really, we don't see heavy rain totals like this all too common here across this region. And again, parts of the Madison area, the city proper picking up 9 to 10 inches on the southwest side of town. So it's no wonder we saw raging rivers in what would normally be quiet, trickling creeks out there in places like Middletown, Wisconsin. But again, we'll dry out as we go through Wednesday. A lot of sunshine, comfortable temperatures out there, low humidity values. Thursday actually looking pretty quiet as well until we get into the evening hours. We're going to see our system coming in from the west that'll move out of the Dakotas and pull into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, heading into late Thursday night and early Friday morning. And again, these showers and storms could give us some heavy rain concerns as we go through Friday. Here you have it, some more scattered storms for the day. Wednesday, Thursday, pretty quiet. Now, this is not for the daylight hours. This is until after dark. Parts of southwest Minnesota and western Iowa. The best chance of seeing the storms, again, later on Thursday. Here is your forecast. And again, heavy rain could be a concern, especially across parts of Wisconsin, including the Madison area, again, on Friday. Here is your forecast. And this is what I'm talking about. If you like the nice, cool air, we've got some 40s in the forecast in parts of Wisconsin. Rhinelander, 49 degrees tonight, 54 in Sault Ste. Marie, 54 in La Crosse, some 60s over into Detroit, and upper 50s for Milwaukee. High temperatures tomorrow, again, very comfortable, mid 70s into Wisconsin and Michigan. A little warmer back towards the west. We'll start to see that southerly wind take hold, so Minneapolis, you'll be in 81 for Wednesday, and Des Moines, you'll be right around 80 as well. Upper 70s, lower 80s for Thursday. Friday, even cooler up towards the north, some 60s in Duluth. But we're going to be talking about some heat returning as those 90s make a comeback into Iowa by Saturday. Here is your forecast for Des Moines. Scattered storms late Thursday into Friday, and then the heat back on track for Saturday, Sunday, and next Monday. Minneapolis, you've got a very comfortable couple of days ahead of you, but a bit of a stormy go of it as we head into Friday, and warmer temperatures will be in the forecast by the weekend. Detroit, 74 sunny degrees on Wednesday, 80 for Thursday and Friday, some scattered storms on Saturday.
back to Weather Nation. We've been tracking showers and storms across the mid-Atlantic as well as the Northeast. And this was one from earlier, LaVale, Maryland, where we did have a tornado warning near the region working into Flintstone, just off towards the west of Flintstone to give you some reference. But a scary sight to see. Definitely one to take seriously, too.
For sure. And just look at, first of all, if I walk out and I see that, I'm like, whoa, let's go back inside. That's one of those scary dark clouds that you see like that coming in, a shelf cloud that was out ahead of everything, and then all the lightning that accompanies that as well. So very stormy into the east. We have slight risk of severe thunderstorms that continues into the day as we go through and into Tuesday and Wednesday as well. Let's talk about the Viper radar. First of all, this is the Viper radar, and this is what's falling from the sky right now. Probably my favorite product of everything you can see on the air is this, because it's immediate. It shows you what's happening now. If you're headed out and about this evening, whether it's in the northeast or the southeast or the central portions of the U.S., it's just nice to know where it is currently raining if you're going to drive into it, or maybe it's coming to your house later on this evening. So we start out into the northeastern United States with all those showers and storms. Buffalo south to Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Washington, D.C., Richmond, and Virginia Beach also. They're in the western sections of Maryland, right near Hagerstown. I was born about 30 miles from there, and that's the thunderstorm activity that goes all the way down to the south. I know you knew it from my accent. Then we go southward down to the state of Florida and throughout Georgia and Alabama. Some of the other thunderstorms reach over to the Wiregrass area of Dothan, Alabama. Highway 82 that goes around the Wiregrass goes through Dothan. 231 southward coming out of Montgomery, and 331 is where you're likely to encounter the heaviest rainfall. Back over to Tallahassee, St. Mark's, down into southern and central sections of Florida. More of the same showing up across that region too. We have a lot to talk about. We'll get into the rest of your forecast about what's happening, and Kate has more about some of that flash flooding as well.
I mean, yesterday, some spots in southern Wisconsin picked up over half a foot of rain in a short amount of time. So that led to scenes like this from earlier today. Still, we're experiencing flooding in Middleton, Wisconsin, but Madison on Monday also saw a lot of that heavier rain pushing through. Some spots over 9 inches in just a few hours, and that could quickly lead to flash flooding. And we still are talking about those heavier showers now pushing off a little further off towards the east. That's where we have that slight risk, because across the mid-Atlantic, the northeast, where anywhere you see that yellow, that's meaning we could be seeing several severe storms as we are tracking out that low pressure system that brought all that rain yesterday to Wisconsin as well as Chicago, all the way down to portions of Arkansas as well as Mississippi. Now it's tracking off towards the east, and that's where we have to be concerned with maybe some of those severe thunderstorms throughout tonight. This severe thunderstorm watch in place across portions of Pennsylvania, Maryland, the panhandle of West Virginia, and even into Virginia. Around to 10 p.m. Eastern time is when that's in effect. So still have those alerts turned on. Pay attention to what's going on outside and stay with us here, because any of the storms do have a potential of producing some very damaging wind gusts. And we're going to see the potential for those winds over 58 miles per hour, and even some rotation, some wind shear could be possible. That means different winds directions with height, and that could lead to maybe a spin-up tornado across portions all the way up from Buffalo, New York, through portions of Pennsylvania, and even down towards Washington, D.C. area. So watching this line and that cold front push off towards the east, that's where by around 9 p.m. Eastern time, more heavy rain is pushing into the D.C. metro area. We've already had some reports of roads need to be closed down due to water on the roadways, and we're going to see another batch of some heavy rain pushing through D.C. region, Baltimore, even across the eastern and central regions of Pennsylvania. And then as we go through the rest of the evening, that starts to push off towards the north and east. And really by 11 p.m., the I-95 corridor near New York, Philadelphia is where we're going to see the heavy rain. And then by tomorrow morning, a soggy start to the day for Boston and up through New York and even into New Hampshire and Vermont. Still some scattered rain showers off towards the east still. Or the west, excuse me, but we're going to have to watch that cold front as it moves offshore to potentially give us those isolated severe storms across the Outer Banks of North Carolina, even into Massachusetts and portions of New England. So stay with us here, because we're tracking more rain showers for regions like Pittsburgh, even into the day tomorrow. And then that low pressure system, it's out into the Atlantic, and we clear things up for your Thursday and Friday. But as we go into the second half this week, we're closely watching Major Hurricane Lane and the impacts it could have for the islands of Hawaii. Everything you need to know is coming up.
welcome back to Weather Nation. Take a look at Aurora, Missouri. For the second day in a row, we were talking about the possibility of tornadoes in the area, and you can see some of the low-hanging clouds, and you can pick out a little bit of the rotation there. It was a pretty violent storm, and we did have actually some reported tornadoes in areas of Missouri right around the Boot Hill, but obviously some scary scenes coming out there. Thanks for joining us. Meteorologist Andy Stein here with you on Weather Nation, talking about your central regional forecast in Chicago, Illinois. As we ended the day on Monday, it was a pretty unsettled evening for us here. We had a lot of lightning, we had a lot of dark skies, a lot of heavy rain around, and it kind of just illuminated the night sky as you were heading off to bed late last night. Now, Cleveland, as we woke up this morning, we were talking about some heavy rain showers, a lot of low-hanging cloud, really overcast conditions, and that's actually a theme that we could be seeing through the remainder of the day today. We've had a few severe storms in the vicinity of Cleveland, and that's not going to be out of the question a little bit later on with the heavy rain potential. Here's some of those tornado reports right into the Paragould, Arkansas area, very close to the Boot Hill of Missouri. Of course, Springfield over here, and Aurora is over in that area as well. We are talking areas of northern Indiana under hail threats, flooding threats, even right around Cincinnati. We've been talking about a few of those flooding threats around. So, talking about flooding, we're talking about heavy rain. Take a look at the heavy rain that we've seen. 1/10 of an inch there in Springfield, not much, about 1/4 of an inch in St. Louis, 3/4 of an inch there in Chicago. But there's some embedded areas here, those darker greens, those yellows, those reds. They're denoting about 1 to 4 inches of rain. Now, throughout the rest of the day today, watching out for a few thunderstorms for western and central areas of Kansas, and much of the Ohio and Tennessee valleys under the threat for thunderstorms today, and maybe an isolated severe threat as you head into eastern Ohio and eastern Kentucky. Cleveland, you're looking okay right now. We have a little bit of clearing out there, some clouds in the vicinity, and some showers and storms going to continue in the vicinity as well throughout the rest of the day. We're taking you out to Columbus, Ohio, and this is essentially what it looks like almost everywhere in the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. It's cloud cover, it's cumulus clouds. There's a few bouts of sunshine out there, but for the most part, we are talking about some pretty numerous clouds. Cincinnati, here it is again, pretty cloudy out there. That's pretty much the name of the game, if you can't tell by how much I'm saying clouds. That's what we're going to be looking at for a lot of folks. Shaping up and doing something here in Chicago, Illinois at the university, but we're looking okay. We've cleared out nicely into the Chicago area. We've had a little bit of cloud cover move back in, but behind that front, we're actually talking about a decent amount of dry air, which will in turn help us out maybe tomorrow, but today it does shape, and it is shaping up to be a pretty cloudy afternoon, but the clouds decreasing courtesy of the visible satellite showing us a little bit more of the actual landscape underneath rather than just the white deck of clouds. So that means that hopefully we'll continue to see some clearing by the time we head towards the evening hours. As we head towards the rest of the evening, though, we do have that potential for a few more storms out there. Any of the storms that fire up around Knoxville, over towards Pikesville, Kentucky, and really over towards Erie, Pennsylvania, and Cleveland, Ohio, we could be looking at a couple of isolated severe storms. We had a cold front roll through, and now we're talking about the little shortwave trough behind it, continuing to bring scattered showers. But here's a little line shaping up right around Cleveland as we head towards dinner time. We're going to continue to watch those storms become more and more numerous, or more and more scattered, I should say, as we head throughout the rest of tonight. Meanwhile, western Kansas, Dodge City over towards Guymon, Oklahoma, we have that threat for some strong storms in this area as we head into tonight. Watch out for damaging wind with these as they continue to push really across the I-70 corridor and right on the border of Kansas and Oklahoma throughout the overnight. Not expecting too much severe weather overnight, but an isolated storm or two that turns severe is not out of the question. Here's a look at tonight's low temperatures. 58 in Chicago, comfortable. 64 in St. Louis, not bad. 68 in Nashville, a little bit more muggy, and lower to mid 60s all across the plains is in the forecast. Aside from areas of eastern Ohio under a threat for maybe just some general thunderstorms, we're not looking at severe weather tomorrow. We could squeeze out a severe storm again around Guymon, Oklahoma, or Dodge City, but it's not going to be a widespread severe weather day that we're going to be watching one bit. Just some decent amounts of rain as we head into the afternoon hours. Thursday severe weather threat moves up into Kansas City, we'll say Kirksville, and over into St. Joseph, Missouri as well. So we do have some active weather that will kind of be intermittent here. Overall rainfall totals will be adding up, especially in Kansas, Hays, Kansas, Dodge City, over towards maybe Liberal. We're talking about Kansas City as well. 1 to 4 inches of rain is not out of the question over the next couple of afternoons, and that rain is coming in a very, very good area of the country that desperately needs it, so we'll see how much rain we can squeeze out of it. Memphis, Tennessee, after some afternoon weather yesterday, we are beautiful outside and expect that for the next 7 days.
Welcome back to Weather Nation. Thank you so much for joining us this evening as we look at your weather across the country. A couple of stops here, Philadelphia. First of all, looks like traffic's going okay at the moment in Philadelphia. D.C. had big thunderstorms there just a little while ago, and in fact had some road closures temporarily, blockades on some of the roads in and around the mall because of the heavy rainfall, and now raining heavily into Virginia Beach. This is all moving offshore, thank goodness. Seems to be moving at a decent pace. That's going to help us out a little bit with potential flash flooding. Thank you again for joining us. Viper Radar tells the story. Love this because this is what's happening right now, perhaps at your house into the east and northeastern United States, rounding the turn around the low pressure center that is off to the northeast and coming southward and moving eastward through West Virginia. Some of the showers there are quite heavy. Then we get into the thunderstorm complex. Still have a severe thunderstorm warning off to the east right there around Hagerstown at the moment. That's been some heavy rainfall. And we're getting into the Susquehanna River area again, where just last week we were talking about some of that river flooding. So certainly want to watch this region, I-70, I-81, throughout that area down to Germantown over to D.C. and then into Fredericksburg on 95. Still some of the heavier rainfall amounts that are taking place right there into that general area as well. Nationally, the rest of the thunderstorms are back to the west over the Four Corners. There's some big thunderstorms down to southeastern portions of Colorado. There's a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that are still ongoing, and back into Texas, deep into the heart of Texas. You can see just north of Houston. It's going to be around Huntsville. In that area on I-45. That's a severe thunderstorm warning, large hail and some high winds in excess of 65 miles per hour reported within that cluster. We'll continue to follow that for you too. Quickly on Lane now, we go to Hawaii. This is going to be our focal point as we move through the next several days. Lane is a big time hurricane, 155 mile per hour sustained winds inside of the storm. There's some of the cloud cover associated with it at the moment as it moves on from the south to the north as we go through time. And like I said, Wednesday 155. Barometric pressure 941 millibars. What does that mean? That just means it's big and it's bad, and it's coming northward eventually as a category 2 or 3 south of the Big Island and weakening pretty rapidly, but maybe not fast enough. There's what we call a pressure gradient with high pressure to the north and low pressure sitting there that may still provide some 70 mile per hour winds to the Big Island. Our main threat, though, that we're talking about is the fact that there are going to be some really heavy amounts of rainfall move into the Big Island. Back over to Honolulu. Maybe as much as 10, 15, and on the high side, 20 inches potentially, Kate, throughout this area. Certainly has to be watched. They can handle quite a bit of that rainfall, but depends on how fast it happens.
Yeah, I mean, they have the soil to absorb it, but they also have those ridges and the mountains across the islands. So we are going to have to watch that closely as some heavy rain and some stronger winds are potentially going to be impacting the islands of Hawaii. Now, we've checked off a lot of names on the list already this season for the Eastern Pacific, from Aletta all the way to Lane already. But as we go into the next 5 days, we're not expecting the development of the next storm. We are tracking no tropical development. Yes, still some of those clusters of showers and storms out there, but not really looking at any of that intensifying into our next tropical system. Also, heading over to the Atlantic, some good news. We also are expecting no tropical development in the next 5 days for the Atlantic basin, in which we've already checked off 5 names from Alberto all the way to Ernesto. And as we go, though, into the next few months, we are going to have to watch it closely because typically we start to see a lot of the hurricanes forming between the 20th of August and the 10th of October. But so far this year, we've seen the 12 named storms across the Eastern Pacific, an extremely active hurricane season so far, and 5 named storms for the Atlantic basin. Even though we've only had 5, and a lot of them have been across the central and northern Atlantic portions of the ocean, we're still going to have to watch, though, for the next few weeks, next few months, because typically when we head towards the later months of summer into fall, we have a lot of that warm sea surface temperatures out there, so some warm water, lower wind shear, and we could be talking about that dust starting to settle down off the coast of Africa, which means more tropical development could be expected, and typically we see that peak of hurricane season right around the 10th of November. And when we look towards the next 2 weeks or so left of the month of August, we are going to watch closely for those warmer sea surface temperatures near the Leeward and Windward Islands for the best chance for the tropical development. Also stay with us because we have a lot of showers and storms across the Four Corners. That update's coming up.
Welcome back to Weather Nation. We're taking you out to Watauga, Texas just yesterday as bouts of heavy rain were driven by the wind and kind of streaming across your driveways and the roads here. We had a lot of actual weather across the south yesterday, and it is what we are going to be talking about over the next couple of minutes, including this in Paragould, Arkansas. We have a couple tornado touchdowns, and you can see that very clearly here off in the distance. Kind of scary sight to see if you were the person taking the video. We also were talking about just heavy downpours, a hail shaft showing up here right around Round Rock, Texas, and a lot of lightning with these storms as well was reported. And if you were in the Rock Round area or the Paragould, Arkansas, or other areas that saw heavy rainfall, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Take a look at this. Pretty interesting as we opened up the day today on Austin, Texas. This is what's known as a little land spout, just kind of coming down. Also, if it was over a body of water, hard to tell in this video. Could be a minor water spout, but doesn't look like it was severe limits. We just did have some pretty interesting video coming out of the Austin, Texas area. Look at all the severe weather that was reported across northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi, through much of the Ozarks. We had a lot that was falling. Hail, damaging wind, flooding, tornadoes. We had everything yesterday. The good news is the tornado reports that we did get were on the low end. We were talking about an EF0 and EF1 up towards Paragould, Arkansas. So there wasn't any injuries and there wasn't much damage at all. So the best kind of tornadoes that we could have. Rainfall, we picked up a half an inch in Fort Stockton in the last 24 hours, a little bit more than that in northern Louisiana, but it's been relatively dry in a lot of places, with the exception of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Broke a rainfall record yesterday, got just under 2 inches of rain, which broke the old record back in 1915. Pretty long-standing record nonetheless. Here's Little Rock, Arkansas, a little bit earlier in the afternoon. We were talking about cloud cover and a few peaks of sunshine out there, but for the most part it was a generally cloudy day. Katy, Texas, one of the suburbs of Houston. Hey, you know what? I love these puffy cumulus clouds. They're the best kind. We call them popcorn cumulus. They kind of just pop up every once in a while and don't do too much. They'll just bring you a little bit of that heat relief, which, by the way, is excessive today. We do have some heat advisories to talk about. It's a great day in South Padre to get down there and paddleboard. It's supposed to be a stand-up paddleboard, but I guess they'll call it a sit-down paddleboard for now, as they continue to go off into the Bay Area and really just enjoy the nice conditions we have. A lot of dry air overhead, but right along a frontal boundary, we are watching the initiation of a few storms out there. Nothing that is going to be severe. And taking a look at just what we're talking about visible satellite-wise is just the puffy cumulus clouds, kind of stratiform, stratocumulus, if you will, and just a couple of isolated stronger ones right along the I-10 corridor and I-20 corridors as well. Now, as we head through the rest of the afternoon, we are looking out for that threat for a few storms and up into northern areas of Texas, very far northern areas of Texas. We're talking about north of Dumas and to the far 2 or 3 counties here in Guymon, Oklahoma, Springfield, Clayton, New Mexico. We're looking out for the possibility of some severe storms as we head deeper into tonight. Damaging wind and hail are going to be the biggest concerns here, and giving you a quick idea of what the forecast is going to hold is this strong complex of storms moving through 6, 7, 8 o'clock will be the one to watch for the possibility of some strong storms moving through. Aside from that, we'll hold on to some showers and maybe a few heavy storms after midnight tonight, but it shouldn't be severe. It's the tail end of a front that's kind of developing off of the Rockies that'll bring us some of that severe weather there, and it's also that front that's bringing a couple of these isolated showers to areas like New Orleans, Austin, Waco, Abilene, and that'll continue into tonight. But notice they're pretty scattered. They're not going to be very widespread whatsoever, and will clear out pretty nicely as we head into the overnights. With the exception of areas right along the Kansas border of Oklahoma, we'll be talking about a few afternoon showers and a few overnight storms that will continue with us. As we go through tonight, 69 in Little Rock, 76 in Austin, Texas, 69 in OKC, and down towards New Orleans, we're talking about temperatures in the mid-60s or mid-70s as we head into our Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, another threat for severe storms up into the panhandle of Oklahoma. General thunderstorms along the coastal areas, but this is one of those areas of focal points that we're going to be watching from Clayton to Guy again. So the areas that see it tonight are going to be the areas that see it again tomorrow, and a general risk for thunderstorms as we head into the afternoon on our Thursday. Rainfall will start to add up just a little bit here as we continue to see rain after rain for maybe areas around the I-10 corridor and up towards I-40. Nothing is looking overly heavy though, and generally less than an inch. Hopefully with the rain that we have seen though, we'll start to see some drought monitor updates, and some good updates at that will hopefully be moving in. We'll get that update as we head into our Thursday. Dallas, Texas, expect a warming trend through the weekend. Temperatures approach 100 degrees as we head into Saturday and Sunday, and we'll be warming up in Little Rock, Arkansas as well.
Well, it's been a stormy Tuesday for many spots across Utah and Colorado, pretty much the four corners, seeing that monsoon moisture, and even some of those storms producing some hailstones like they were in Leadville, Colorado just earlier today.
Got pea-size there for a little while into Leadville and moving across I-25. Heard some reports around Colorado Springs again, which you've been listening to or watching the national news even for the past month. You know how horrible month it's been with hail falling in that region.
And they'll take any break, but unfortunately they're not quite getting it today or even into the next few days. They could see more storms.
It does look pretty soupy there across that portion of Colorado, normally known as being a fairly dry and not exactly humid state, but it's been just the opposite for a while. Let's go back into the east first of all. The Viper radar shows what's happening down along the Gulf Coast all the way into the state of Florida, then northward up along the Atlantic seaboard over to Charlotte and into Richmond. There are a couple of heavy thunderstorms that are moving along the boundary down into southern Alabama or the state of Florida, all the way down into Orlando, the Lake Okeechobee area. Go northward up into D.C. or just off to the east, Hagerstown into Maryland, back over to central portions of Pennsylvania, just east of Buffalo too. Some of the big thunderstorms there along I-90. Those are going to continue to slide eastward across Lake Erie and then into Ontario as we go through the remainder of this evening. Southward we go. More showers and storms in that general region as well. Back out into the national picture though, and we'll go into the four corners to show you those thunderstorms exist at the moment, the heaviest of which is southeastern Colorado along I-25 or along I-70 back to the west, Albuquerque into New Mexico, or as far south and west as Tucson into Arizona. Some of those thunderstorms we'll be monitoring for the rest of this evening as well. We'll keep you abreast of what's happening as we go through the rest of this evening and talk more about what's happening across the rest of the country as well. Kate?
Yeah, so Maryville in Arizona, earlier those storms were pushing through, and we have seen widespread showers and storms as David was just showing you on the Viper radar. And we're going to see more as we go into the next few hours before we wrap up the day on Tuesday. So we're talking about the East Coast and Mid-Atlantic for the showers and storms as well. But over towards the Four Corners, that includes places like Utah into the western slopes of Colorado, even across the southeastern regions of Colorado. We do have those chances for some of those storms to turn stronger, even severe, as we go into the evening hours. Any severe storm that we do experience, well, it's going to come with that threat for large damaging hail and even some strong gusting winds over 58 miles per hour. So if you aren't seeing those storms quite yet, maybe just be a little preemptive and bring that patio furniture, any loose items on inside, because as we go through the rest of the day, we are going to still see those showers and storms pushing over towards the east. And as they move over to southeastern Colorado, this is where we could maybe be seeing a brief spin-up tornado potentially, because look, by the evening hours, we get that bowing look to these showers and storms, so some strong winds could be possible, heavy rain too, and more of that heavy rain is going to be pushing into the I-25 corridor. We're at 9 p.m. right now. By the time it makes it to areas like Colorado Springs and Denver, the heaviest of the rain is starting to wind down, but still some isolated pockets of some good downpours, and the rain showers even work into the start of your Wednesday. So by Wednesday morning, Garden City down into southwestern Kansas is where we're still going to have some heavy rain for that Wednesday morning commute. Most of us seeing it on the lighter side, but still across this area, we've been having a lot of heavy rain, and we're still going to have more chances for severe weather pretty much in the same spot for the day tomorrow. So for Wednesday, still be looking at those alerts, have them turned on, because across northern Utah into areas like western Wyoming, Pocatello, Twin Falls into Idaho, and even still across southeastern Colorado and into the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma is where we could see more severe storms into the day for the middle of the week. But for today and even into tomorrow, since we're talking about these showers and storms, they come with a lot of heavy moisture in some spots, and that's going to fall on some flood-prone areas. It's pretty easy to flood in this portions of the country with the soil we have, so we already have flash flood watches in place and already a lot of those flash flood warnings. That means flash flooding is occurring or imminent. So take these seriously, as we will still have heavy rain today and even into the day tomorrow across much of the Four Corners. Those heavier or darker greens indicating over an inch, and that could occur in a short amount of time.